Pride and Prejudice is a novel by Jane Austen that explores themes of love, social class, and growing up in the early 1800s. The story revolves around the Bennet family, including Elizabeth Bennet, who is smart, funny, and independent. Initially prejudiced against Mr. Darcy due to his perceived cockiness, Elizabeth eventually learns to look past her prejudices. The characters in the story include Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy, who initially appears proud and distant but later learns to love Elizabeth for who she truly is. Jane Bennet, Elizabeth's older sister, is shown to be kind, gentle, and quiet, embodying the ideal woman of the time. Mrs. Bennet, the father of the Bennet family, has a funny but ironic sense of humor and keeps her in check. The story is filled with complexities of human nature and relationships, as well as the challenges faced by the characters. Mrs. Bennet is concerned with matching her children with wealthy suitors, which puts pressure on the girls to find good marriages. The story begins when Mr. Charles Bingley, a wealthy and attractive single man, moves into Netherfield Park, hoping to marry one of her daughters. However, Bingley falls in love with Jane Bennet at a neighborhood ball and people initially think of him as cocky. Despite this, Mr. Darcy becomes more interested in Elizabeth, despite her initial negative impression of him. Throughout the story, there are many mistakes and bad decisions made by the characters. Mr. Darcy's proposal to Elizabeth is strongly turned down, and she accuses him of being mean to Mr. Bingley. In response, Mr. Darcy writes a letter to Elizabeth explaining his actions and why he did them, giving her more information about his personality. As the story progresses, various love problems arise, such as Lydia Bennet running away with Mr. Wickham, a dishonest soldier, which makes her family look bad. Mr. Darcy plays a crucial role in restoring the Bennet family's good name. In the end, love prevails over pride and bias. Elizabeth and Mr. Darcy overcome their prejudices and mistakes, and they express their love for each other. Mr. Darcy makes another proposal, and Elizabeth agrees. Jane and Mr. Bingley also make up and get engaged. Pride and Prejudice highlights the importance of understanding oneself and growing as a person to form meaningful relationships. The story serves as a reminder that true love can survive societal norms and personal biases, and that it is essential to know oneself and grow as a person to form meaningful connections. Pride and Prejudice is a beloved classic in literature, written by Jane Austen between 1796 and 1813, during the late 18th and early 19th centuries. The book takes place during the Regency era in England, where King George III was considered unfit to rule and his son, King George IV, was named regent. Austen's writing explores the social norms and traditions of her time, particularly in relation to marriage and social class. The book highlights the importance of marriage for women in Austen's time, as they had limited rights and financial freedom. Mrs. Bennet's eagerness to match her girls with wealthy suitors highlights this social pressure. Austen's writing was also published during a time when novels were becoming more popular, making sharp social points and telling stories through the eyes of their characters. Austen's personal life was influenced by her experiences and observations of the world around her. She wrote her books without much attention, often publishing them under a name or under a fake name. Her first draft of Pride and Prejudice was called First Impressions in 1797, which she changed and improved over time. In 1813, Thomas Egerton, a well-known printer, released the book, which received good reviews and became more famous. In summary, Jane Austen wrote Pride and Prejudice during a time of significant social change in England, highlighting the norms, standards, and problems of her time. Her work, with its clever writing, social commentary, and memorable characters, continues to resonate with readers today. Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen is a timeless classic that offers valuable lessons for readers today. The book highlights the complexity of relationships, the power of self-discovery, the role of gender and social norms in shaping our perceptions, the importance of true love, the satire of social hypocrisy, and the lasting significance of family. The book also highlights the influence of gender roles and expectations on women during the Regency age, urging readers to question these expectations. The main love story between Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy demonstrates the importance of genuine connections and emotional compatibility in personal relationships. Austen's sharp wit and satire also highlight the hypocrisy and vainness of some characters and social rules, making readers think about the values and behaviors of their own culture. The Bennet family members' care and support during the American Civil War emphasize the lasting importance of family ties and the need to value and care for one's own family connections. The book is also a timeless piece of literature, as it deals with universal issues like love, finding oneself, and social expectations. Pride and Prejudice encourages readers to reflect on their own relationships, attitudes, and biases, as well as the stable parts of human nature and the chance to grow as individuals and form deep bonds with others. The lessons from the book are still relevant today, even as the world has changed since Austen's time. For those interested in reading more books like Pride and Prejudice, there are several options available. Jane Austen's Sense and Sensibility is a classic that explores love, social expectations, and the difference between logical and emotional aspects. Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre is a Gothic book with strong romance and social commentary, while Louisa May Alcott's Little Women is a beloved classic that explores themes of family, friendship, and personal growth during the American Civil War. Elizabeth Gaskell's North and South explores the differences between the rural south of England and the industrial north, with the story of Margaret Hale, who moves to a town with factories and faces conflicts between workers and mill owners. Edith Wharton's The Age of Innocence is a 1920 novel set in New York City during the Gilded Age, focusing on the strict rules and expectations of the upper class in the United States. Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice is a timeless classic that offers valuable lessons for readers seeking to understand love, societal expectations, personal growth, and the human condition.